I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today, and this is Capitol Download. We're in New York City with the Governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
You have a new book out this week, Unintimidated, A Governor's Story and a Nation's Challenge. Why did you write the book?
A lot of people know about the recall, some people know about the protests, but I think many people, not only in my state but across the country, don't fully know or appreciate all the reasons we did what we did.
Now, writing a book like this and traveling around the country to promote it, it's really a classic step in the presidential campaign playbook. Is that on your mind? Are you thinking you may run for president in 2016?
No, we need to be focused on the immediate issues at hand. And really, a lot of people, I think, will be surprised as they read the book. This isn't a typical candidate book. This isn't an autobiography. This really tells a very compelling story about the people and the reforms that we put in place in Wisconsin. And I think people will find it interesting.
But that's not ruling out the idea that you might choose to run.
Well, I don't rule anything out. Throughout my time in public service, I've tried to focus on more what we were going to do and not the length of time that I've served.
You and House Budget Chairman Paul Ryan are just about the same age.
That's right.
You're from just about the same place.
Grew up about 15 miles down the road from each other. Both worked at McDonald's as kids flipping burgers just down the way from.
You're longtime friends. Mm-hmm. You're both on the list of the mentioned for 2016 for the presidential race. Is it conceivable that you both would run?
Oh, you know, Paul and I talk almost every week on a variety of issues, everything from politics to policy to hunting to the Packers to just about kids and everything in between. We haven't talked about this. Paul grew up 15 miles to the west of me. Reince Priebus, who's the RNC chair, grew up about 20 miles to the east of me. There must have been something in the water at the time. But it is a unique opportunity when you think about reforms in America that so many of them come out of Wisconsin. We said it's kind of the cheesehead revolution.
Do you think it's likely if either one of you wanted to run, decided you wanted to run, and maybe it's premature to make a decision now, that you would talk to the other?
Well, we talk about everything, like I mentioned. We talk about things all over the map, but there's no doubt that whatever the future holds, the both of us will be talking to each other. But for now, I'm really focused on Wisconsin. He's focused on the budget. You
know, approval of Congress is pretty low, down to 9% last week in the Gallup poll. That's a record. Sometimes it's hard to imagine who those 9% are.
Friends and family, that's about it, right?
Do you think it makes more sense for the Republican Party to turn to a Washington official as their representative, or would they be smarter to turn to one of the Republican governors?
Hands down, there's no doubt, as much as I love Paul and some other people mentioned, in my mind, I think it's an almost given that not only for the good of the party, but for the good of the country, in the future, we need to elect either a current or a former governor. And I think most Americans have had it with almost everybody in Washington in either party, and they want people who are going to come in and completely shake things up.
We had 2 gubernatorial elections just this month. Some people look at those 2 races and say the lesson is Republicans need to project a more moderate image, like Governor Christie. They need to do more to reach out to Democrats and independents and Hispanics and women, and that the Tea Party affiliation was a problem for Ken Cuccinelli. Do you agree with that?
Out of the 30 governors in America that are now Republicans, one of the high points we've had in about a dozen years, all 30 of them are probably more conservative than Mitt Romney is. So it's not that we need to change our core principles, and we outline this as well. It's really that we need to articulate in a way that we don't see much in Washington, but we do see in the states, and that is Republican governors are much more optimistic. We have a visionary, aspirational goal for what we want to do for our states. We talk in terms that are much more relevant. We stay focused on economic and fiscal issues, and then we show we got the courage to act on those. And those are the sorts of things I not only share the Wisconsin story, but I highlight some of the other governor stories around the country, because I think that's a stark contrast to what we see in Washington.
You write in your book about the lessons of the 2012 elections. You had this, there was this different experience that you had. You won your recall election by 7 percentage points in June in Wisconsin. Yep. You get to November, Mitt Romney loses the state by 7 percentage points. Was that a winnable state for Mitt Romney?
Right after the day after the recall election, I felt that Mitt Romney could have won the election. He showed voters in my state and other battleground states that the R next to his name didn't just stand for Republican, it stood for reformer. For whatever reason, the national campaign in many ways failed our nominee because they kept saying, no, keep the focus on the president. People are down and out about the economy. They're upset with the president. You just make a referendum on him and we'll win. And by failing to make a positive argument as to why a Mitt Romney presidency would be better for all Americans, what they did is effectively allow the Obama-Biden campaign to define Mitt Romney as the R next to his name wasn't for Republican, it stood for rich guy who only cares about rich guys. And that's unfortunate, because that's not what Mitt Romney was all about.
What should congressional Republicans do now about Obamacare?
Continue to talk about it, but I think Republicans need to be very careful. The rollout of this system is an abysmal failure. The website is a joke. It's just not working. I think Republicans need to be very careful that in no way do we look like we're relishing this failure, that somehow we're excited about that. Republicans need to be very careful about not looking like we're the ones pushing Obamacare over the cliff. And then, again, as governors have done repeatedly in the states, nationally, we got to offer a better alternative.
Governor Scott Walker, thanks for joining us on Capitol Download.
Good to be with you.